Hey, what's happening?
Brother, what's up?
This is a big party, man.
Yeah,
I
brother,
can
like
dig it.
stop right on.
Hey, man, what's your name?
Good morning and welcome to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 844-967-2789. That's 844-967-2789. You can text us at that same number. Good morning to you, Calvin. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, yesterday we had the fog and today we have the rain.
Yeah, man. You know, Calvin, it's already August 15th, man.
Yeah, I know. I can't believe it. Time's flying.
Yeah, it is, man. And, you know, it won't be long. But anyway, I'm excited as always. Today is my favorite day of the entire week as I am joined by none other than Dr. Omar, the pharmacist of Welltopia Pharmacy. Good morning to you, Dr. Omar. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Good morning, Earl. Thank you. Thank you for this introduction. Really appreciate being on the show. I am honored to be talking to you and to the audience and to Kelvin, to everybody. Good morning.
Well, man, I just am so thrilled by what we've been able to accomplish in this short period of time, and the impact that you've had on people. Many of my friends and others who have been listening, and just kind of, putting these things in perspective. Never been anything like it before, and hopefully we'll be able to keep this going for a long time. There's so much to talk about. I'm sitting here looking at all of those medications behind you and all the medications you have, and in your pharmacy, and there's a story behind all of them. Hopefully we'll have time to talk about all of those. But for today, let's talk about, I have to say, whenever the thyroid comes up, I never knew what a thyroid. Well, I kind of knew a little bit about thyroids. My family, thyroid problems, hereditary in my family. My mom, three of my sisters had goiters that grew underneath their necks and kind of made their eyes kind of protrude somewhat. And so they knew of the problems with their thyroids because they had to have the goiters removed. And so all those times, I never thought about myself having any problems with a thyroid until one day. Well, it wasn't one day. There were times that I was doing radio and I couldn't swallow. And I couldn't swallow pills. And I couldn't figure out why I couldn't swallow my own saliva. And all of a sudden, this just became a major problem. I wound up going to a doctor, and ear, nose, and throat guy. He did some research and he said, hey, you gotta, let's do x-rays. And never will forget, he did the x-rays, and I came in and he said, look, wow. He was telling me about the x-rays, and he started with wow. And he frightened me and my wife to death. And then he said, okay, I'm going to send you to a cardiologist. And so he sends me to a cardiologist. I take the x-rays. Cardiologist starts by saying, wow. And I was starting to say goodbye to my wife. And then as it turned out, I had this major thyroid that grew goiter that grew internally, that required 5 hours of surgery to remove. So thyroids are a big deal.
They are a big deal, and they are like the body's thermostat. Like it's like controlling the temperature of your house. Like it controls how your body uses energy. All right. So it's small, butterfly shaped in the neck, just below the Adam's apple. Okay. So even though it's small, it plays a big role in keeping you feeling good, feeling good. And that's very important because one of the diagnostic ways, the clinical manifestation of the thyroid issues is when a patient comes and they say like, I feel cold. I'm not losing weight. I'm gaining weight. I have my hair is thinning. Right, so it helps with like hormone production. It's like it has main hormones T1, T2, T3, and T4. We only hear about the T3 and the T4. T1 and T2 is still like a matter of research. We don't know a whole lot about, but the T3 and T4 are the most important. All right, now the T3 is the active form of the thyroid gland, and the T4 is the inactive form. And when the doctor gives a patient with hypothyroidism a medication like T4, it has to be converted to the T3 to be active. And that kind of get us to a complex issue of what kind of thyroid medication do I need and how to diagnose that I am having the right dose of the thyroid medication, because it's not just the medication, it's lifestyle, it is stress, it is vitamins that you have in your body, and it is like if the medication is helped, because some patients have excellent lab values but they are feeling awful and their thyroid problem is not properly diagnosed, not properly treated. And that's why we need people who are taking thyroid medications for years to kind of consider the fact that, all right, is this the correct dose for now? And is there any kind of clinical signs that need me to ask the doctor if the doses need to be adjusted or extra labs need to be performed to see how can I get the optimum medication regimen for the thyroid?
So let me ask you, because my doctor, uh, they're very, very cautious once you lose your thyroid about those medications and taking the labs and either going up or down with the thyroid medications that I take. What are the dangers of them giving you getting too much of the thyroid medication as opposed to not enough? There's a balance that they're trying to strike once you lose your thyroid.
Yeah. So let's say that once the thyroid gland is removed, the body can no longer produce these hormones on its own. So you will need a lifelong hormone replacement therapy to maintain normal metabolic functions in the body. Okay, so that is key. Now, the main medications that you would get is the T4, which is synthetic form of the very important thyroxine, which is a T4. All right. It used to be normally produced by your thyroid gland. Now it's not. So you get it, and the medication is supposed to be converted to the T3. If it's not converted, that's a problem. And this can happen. For some patients, can be up to 15% of patients, 3 to 15% of patients cannot convert the T4 to T3. So after 6 weeks of giving you the medication, the doctor would check the levels again to make sure that the levels are fine, the TSH, the T3, and the T4. And there is also a very important lab value, which is reverse T3. If they are elevated, this means the conversion is not happening correctly. And if this is happening, the doctor would give you another medication called liothyronine, or the T3. And
What
just to tell you something, yeah,
what are the inherent dangers of it not being converted?
you're not going to be getting the energy that you need in your body that the thyroid would be doing. It's just you're getting an inactive form of the medication, of the drug, of the hormone, so it's not doing its function. And there is several patients that this is actually the case. Some patients are taking the combined therapy of T4 and T3 because the conversion is not happening correctly. So they take T3 supplementation, which is a medication called liothyronine, comes in two doses, 5 microgram and 25 microgram. Because when the doctor does the lab, he finds that the patient is not converting correctly. And that's why when we ask the patients to go request lab values from the doctor, we ask them to ask for comprehensive thyroid lab values, which includes also reverse T3 and antibodies to check them out so the doctor can have a more conclusive picture of the thyroid.
So, Dr. Omar, what
Now,
are the, oh, go ahead, sir.
yeah, sure. Please go ahead, ask me.
No, so what are the signs that the thyroids aren't working properly? Your thyroid is not working properly in your body. I mean, since we talked about this little small organ that we don't, people kind of don't even know they have it.
Yeah.
What are the signs that it's not working?
Well, it's like you hear this from the patient with thyroid abnormalities. They tell you, I feel awful. I am tired all the time. I have weight gain, cold sensitivity, dry skin, dry hair, constipation, depression, mood swings, slow heart rate,
Wow.
muscle weakness, memory problem, and brain fog.
Wow.
Heavy for women, heavy or irregular periods. That's the hypothyroidism, which is underactive thyroid, while there is an overactive thyroid, which is weight loss, rapid heartbeat, heat intolerance, I mean, that feeling excessively warm or sweating more than usual, nervousness and anxiety, insomnia, increased appetite. So when a patient is having those kind of depression, let's say a patient comes to a doctor and say, I have depression, I feel depressed, the doctor would ask other questions. If he feels also there is other signs like constipation, slow heart rate, etc., the doctor would ask for complete blood count, thyroid labs, and hormonal checks, because these are checkpoints for the doctor to make sure that the thyroid is acting normal, and because he has to check if there is hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism or anything that is also serious about the thyroid gland. Remember it's like the hormone for happiness. And it's very important.
Dr. Omar, what all of this says to me is that you really need to be cognizant of what's happening with yourself on a constant basis. The changes in things, your body, the way it's situated and set up, when things aren't going according to the way they should, you really need to be cognizant of that and then make sure you go and get those things checked out. You are officially in the pharmacy with Dr. Omar, the pharmacist, on the Earl Ingram Show. 844-967-2789 is the number you can join us.
The following content is not intended as medical advice. Always consult your own physician, pharmacist, or healthcare professional for your own healthcare concerns.
Bringing you a passion for health and wellness. Dr. Omar Uliwa is here to answer your pharmaceutical questions. Now, let's go in the pharmacy with Earl Ingram and Dr. Omar.
Doctor, my eyes have seen the years and the slow parade of fears without price. Now I want to understand. I have done all that I could to see the evil and the good without hiding. You must help me if you can. Doctor, my eyes, tell me what is wrong, 'cause I am wise to leave them open for so long.
You are now officially in the pharmacy with Dr. Omar, the pharmacist of Welltopia Pharmacy. As always, in Mequon, Thingsville, as always, you can join us at 844-967-2789. Let's go to the phone lines and Bill from Oconomowoc. Hey, good morning to you, Bill. You have a question to comment for Dr. Omar?
Yes, I do. Dr. Omar, when we last talked, I mentioned quail eggs, specific to Turnix quail eggs, and you said you'd look into it. Have you found anything yet? And I realize you're a busy man.
Yes. No, I looked it up right away. I looked it up right away, and I looked at the research behind the quail eggs. While they are very rich in nutrition, fact, and they have very rich in minerals, and they may have more nutrients than other eggs for other birds. But at the same time, the clinical manifestation of the research of how it helps with anti-aging, anti-cancer properties, I did not find enough data for it. Maybe there are cases here and there, but I didn't find a lot of things in the literature, and also in the other holistic resources that I searched. So my belief is that it would be helpful to eat them every now and then, but we don't have conclusive results on their effect for anti-aging and in anti-aging medicine. And the challenge we have in anti-aging, it's a very broad term, and finding the agents that are conclusively helping the cells of the body stay young, it is not as easy as it looks. But I would look at the quail eggs same way as I look at eating healthy meals.
Thank you, Dr. Omar. Also, one more question. I'm a good friend of, and Earl knows him quite well too, of Larry Heisel. And Larry has a saying, where the mind goes, the body follows. I really believe we have not explored the mind enough to understand its healing powers of just positive thinking and positive outcomes gives you that. Now, I have through Christianity, and we find it's just phenomenal. But I wanted you just to say a few words on the power of the mind to the healing of the body, if you would. I'm hanging up now.
Hey, Bill, thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for the call. Dr. Omar, I know you will concur.
Yeah, honestly, I just came back from a spiritual journey. I was in Mecca. I was doing visiting the Holy Land, and I needed that because I'm under a lot of stress from work, from doing so many things, and I found that I needed a break. My stress hormone was over the roof, so I did a stress hormone test, and I found that between morning and night, my levels are very high, and I take my supplements, I eat healthy, and then I found that my spiritual journey needs a journey. So I did this, and I completely agree with you. We have to take care of our minds, our souls. We have to be rested. We have to work on our stress level from a higher point of view, believing in God, religions, believing in people, believing in humanity, coming together. This is very important, especially in the times that we're living now, that every time you open the news, it's like crazy stuff happening, or just can't imagine it. So I completely agree. I take this as a prescription. I follow it by heart, and I am happy that you're bringing this up to the show.
All right, Dr. Omar, let's go to Mary from Wauwatosa. Good morning to you, Mary. Thank you very much for the call, as always.
Good morning, Dr. Omar and Earl. Thanks so much for this invaluable information. I've shared it with many. I was driving the other day out on West North Avenue, and I noticed I was driving behind a Welltopia car, and I saw your license plate, Wellmun, M-U-N. Just wondering what the meaning of that was. Melmune.
So, yeah, so I bought my car during COVID times, and I have a supplement to support immune health. This supplement was created based on the top 5 or 6 supplements that would have the most research to support the immune health. Vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, quercetin, N-acetylcysteine, and vitamin A. And then I found a company that made this product in the clinical doses that if a patient takes only 2 capsules every day, all year long, they would have kind of their immune system will be better, immune resilience is better. If they get sick, they recover very fast. So I kind of had this company private label this product. I called it Wellmune, Wellmune. Then when I bought a car, I made a special license plate and I called it Wellmune because the key to protection of good health is the immune system, and I wanted people to be healthy. So I wanted it to be like a hallmark for this era of the time that we were living. Wellmune to take care of our immune health.
Excellent, thank you. And a question that I have, at my age, and I'm at the end of my 8th decade, I'm 79, pretty healthy, but I'm concerned about my blood sugar. I'm in a pre-diabetic stage, and it's been my blood sugar, which I check every morning, is ramping up. And I'm just wondering if you have any advice that can help me to stay out of the type 2 diabetic, diagnosis.
The most important thing is to eat a healthy breakfast before 10 a.m. to make sure that the metabolism of the insulin is happening correctly in the body. And then there are supplements that would be highly recommended if you are pre-diabetic. And we can start with a good multivitamin, because it would have enough of many different micronutrients, like Active Life, because we're looking for chromium, we're looking for magnesium, we're looking for alpha lipoic acid. These are supplements that would help lower the blood sugar and keep it in a healthy range, help also as an antioxidant, because every number that goes up when you check your blood sugar, this is going against your healthy cells. So again, chromium, magnesium, alpha lipoic acid, and we have also other things like cinnamon, vitamin D, fenugreek. But I would start with a very good multivitamin like Active Life. I'm not talking about the other cheap brands. I'm talking about a good multivitamin, and I go from there. Add magnesium, add chromium, add other things.
You know, Dr. Omar, and we'll talk about this on the other side, but you said cinnamon. I'm reading things that says cinnamon is not good for you. You know, so we get information that's all over the map, and how do we know what is the good information and what's not the good information? We'll do all this on the other side. You're officially in the pharmacy with Dr. Omar, the pharmacist, on the Earl Ingram Show.
Telephone line, bad connection, and I'm half asleep. Making conversation with you should be easy, but it ain't. Wish you could be with me, there would be no problem. Our communication's bad, and I want to see you again. Person to person, face to face, person to person, wonder why. Person to person, touching hands, person to person, that's what love demands.
All right. Welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 844-967-2789. You can text us at that same number. You're officially in the pharmacy with Dr. Omar, the pharmacist, the proprietor of Welltopia Pharmacy in Mequon and Thiensville. Dr. Omar, how can people get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me through calling the pharmacy or texting. Actually, if they call up the pharmacy and then 262-429-9429 and they pick option 2, they can leave a direct message to me. I'll hear it and then I'll get back to the customers. And also, they can go to the website welltopiarx.com and send me a message or request a consultation. I have limited availability on my consultation schedule now, but I will open them as the weeks come by. This is very important. You mentioned a very important and very good question about the cinnamon, because cinnamon is very helpful supplement to help with blood sugar control, improve insulin sensitivity, lowers fasting blood sugar, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. But then there is a challenge with certain forms of cinnamon, because there's something called the coumarin content, Coumarin. The cinnamon, especially the cassia cinnamon. There is the cassia cinnamon and another cinnamon called the Ceylon, Seylon cinnamon. The cassia cinnamon has high coumarin content, which is can increase blood thinning activity, can cause liver damage at high content of it, can be allergic. So that's why when you go to the store and you find just cinnamon labeled as cinnamon, they are the cassia cinnamon that have this kind of effect. Just a high amount of it can cause these effects. The better supplements that come from professional grade supplements, they try to more use the Ceylon, Seylon cinnamon, which have lower coumarin content, in which we can take a higher dose without having those side effects. And then that's why again and again I tell the patients, in order to make sure you're getting what you're paying for when you're getting a supplement, not getting anything that's harmful, is to always treat supplements as a medication. Get a highly professional grade supplement to make sure you're getting the right stuff.
See, this is why, Dr. Omar, this is such a valuable conversation that you and I have. You go to the grocery store, you go in the spices aisle, and it says cinnamon, and there are all sorts of cinnamon. and for sale, and then there's one organic cinnamon, and which tastes different than all the other cinnamons that they have. But nobody ever talked about cinnamon like you talk about it from the clinical perspective of it. And so when you read something that says cinnamon is good for you in coffee, or others that says cinnamon is not good for you in coffee, how are we supposed to know any of it? You're talking about things just in cinnamon alone that can damage you, and people aren't aware of those things.
Yeah, I agree with you. Moderation is key. So, like, if you get cinnamon to use it as a flavor, use it in cooking just as a flavor every now and then, it's fine. But if you take it as thinking that this is what's lowering my blood sugar, I'm going to take a lot of it every day. This is when we need to ask, is this a good thing to do or not? I have a friend of mine, her mother believed in shea seeds. Like, she was getting shea seeds, trying to get the protein content from shea seeds. She was eating it lunch, dinner, breakfast, until she had to go to the ER, and they had shea seeds coming out of her nose because they told her,
Wow.
like, you overdid it, you know. So this is the thing, is like, there is nothing that's a magic bullet. Everything has a plus or minus, and moderation is the key. And that's why today we're talking about the thyroid gland. Too much thyroid gland is not good, too little is not healthy. Some patients that take the medication that you take early, the levothyroxine, the T4, after 6 weeks, their levels are not improving. They still feel tired. They still not having any optimum results. And then when the doctor checks the thyroid gland again, he has to change the medication. And sometimes the commercial available drug, levothyroxine, doesn't work, and the doctor has to change it to not a synthetic version of the thyroid gland, porcine thyroid gland, which is called the MP thyroid and Armour thyroid. These are the brand names for them, which are harder to extract, that contain the T4 and the T3 in addition to other forms of the gland. The gland of the pig is usually what is used. And this medication is widely prescribed by integrative prescribers, sometimes over-prescribed, because sometimes it's prescribed to patients that don't even have thyroid problems. So I tell people also to be careful with who they work with, even in the integrative medicine field. But some patients don't respond unless they take this form of the thyroid gland. And some patients have to move from a thyroid medication to another, and they keep trying for 6 months to 1 year until they find a form of the thyroid medication that works for them. And that's where compounding comes in play, because we can design the dose according to the lab values and the clinical manifestation of the disease, and work with the doctor and the patient to make the exact precise dose. And that's why the thyroid is a very wide term, and the medication that works for your friend and for your son and for your family member does not necessarily mean it will work for you, even if you have a brother that has the same condition and certain medication works for them. It's very bio-individualized. It's also, the thyroid gland is so much related to stress. I know a lot of people that had thyroid problems because of stress in their lives, because stress affects the thyroid gland. Not being able to night shifts. If someone is having a night shift every day of their life and they are doing this for years, and they tell you, I am fine, I can work all night, I have no problem with that, there is a lot of physiological changes that happen in the body. And those patients, I would call them patients, the night owls are patients, because they have to check always, make sure that their thyroid gland is working in an optimum level. Their stress hormone is working fine. It's crucial for everyone who works long night shifts to keep up with their labs, with their doctor visits, because God made our bodies in a way to do something, and we're doing something completely different. Yes, we need those jobs, but at the same time, we have to consider rotation. We have to consider changing the working environment and working schedule. And I have to tell you, through my career as a pharmacist and as a clinician and as a human being, every person that I encountered who work night shifts, they have health challenges that if don't happen in the first year, they happen after 10 years. I myself, Earl, one of my biggest challenges in my health, in my life, happened after I stayed 2 days without sleeping. It took me 2 years to come back to normal because something happened in my body and in my brain that took me 2 years to normalize. Just not being able to sleep for 2 days.
So
You know.
I worked night shift for over 10 years. I worked third shift, and I used to work sometimes 7 nights a week, uh, third shift, and never knew, that it was having some impact. But I want to a couple things, Dr. Omar. I want to go back to something someone said earlier, and you said it. As we start preparing for the fall and the winter, what do we need to start doing, and when do we need to start doing it to prepare ourselves and our immune systems? Because COVID is running rampant now. It's going to be running even more rampant as the seasons change. What do we need to start doing to prepare our bodies? And before you go there, I have to say this to the listening audience. Before I started talking with you and taking your advice, I was feeling run down. I'm one of the most active 70-year-olds you're going to find anywhere. I'm active in my life. I've always been. I'm busy, from probably the time I get up until the time I go to bed. I'm active. I'm busy. I'm in my community. I'm serving people. But I feel better now, Dr. Omar, than I felt in a decade or more. I'm older, but it's because of the different supplements and things and my conversation. It's just truth. The only thing I can attribute it to is the fact that I'm taking the right supplements and my body is responding to it by not feeling worn out, by not feeling tired. I feel more vibrant. My muscles, as Popeye would say, my muscles are feeling, back to where they work. But prior to those things, I was feeling run down.
Earl, I'm so happy that I am able to help you with my advice and with the products that I have in my pharmacy. That makes me feel like fulfilled in my career. I'm gonna tell you that health is like 10 points. If you work on point one, two, three, four, five, if you're patient, you do the right things, you're going to be in better health because we're working based on science and based on data and based on so many good things. But thank you for saying that. Look, as we prepare for the fall and winter, I was just thinking of that on my way here. We have to look at the priorities, okay? First, we have to, this is the time that we would be feeling cold, the change in the weather, viruses, bacterias, all of that. So we have to prepare for our immune system. People who believe in vaccines should prepare for timing when to get the flu shot and the COVID-19 booster. And there is a new booster about to be released. My predictions and there is no data that came from the CDC yet, but my predictions it's going to be end of this month, beginning of September. And also the flu shots are already released. I have them in stock, but if you want to take them together on the same day, it's absolutely fine. If you want to part them by 2 weeks, it's also absolutely fine. So people who believe in the vaccines start getting the flu shots and the COVID-19 boosters. I believe in taking the vaccines, especially for population who are having compromised immune system and for seniors. Flu shots and COVID-19 boosters. And then immune boosting foods that are rich in vitamin C, D, zinc, antioxidants, leafy greens, avocado, eating eggs, people who don't have sensitivity to eggs, fruits, citrus fruits, and not orange juice. I mean, if you want to eat orange, eat actual orange, not the orange juice, because the actual orange have fiber, so you don't have this dip of don't have this so much sugar that needs to be broken down by insulin right away. So this is very important, immune boosting foods. And then the supplements, consider supplements like that my title plate of my car, Wellmune, that have the C, the D, the zinc, the probiotics to support the immune system. And then I would also recommend that you have at your home a very important kit that I would say emergency kit for cold and flu. I would have something to help to help with coughing, like elderberry syrup. People who want to get medications that help with that, over-the-counter medications, have a humidifier, and then stock up on the essentials.
So when we come back, I want to talk about, I've been reading for a long time how great blueberries are for you. And I just started reading something lately that said, stop eating all those blueberries. The exact opposite of what somebody had said earlier, where these things are essential for you. And now there's somebody combating that. 844-967-2789 is the number. You're officially in the pharmacy with Dr. Omar, the pharmacist, on the Earl Ingram Show.
Just keeping time. Oh, that's the first sign. Getting in deep, losing sleep. That's the first sign. Gotta keep.
If the music makes you move, 'cause you can dig the groove and groove on. Groove on. If you feel like you wanna make love under the stars above, love on. Love on. If it's something you wanna say, talking is the only way. Rap on. Oh, rap on. 'Cause whatever more you do, oh, you got to do your thing. All right, welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. You're officially in the pharmacy with Dr. Omar, the pharmacist, the proprietor of Welltopia Pharmacy in Mech 1 in Thingsville. So Dr. Omar, how do we know? You know, been hearing all the time that blueberries are absolutely essential and great for you and for your immune systems and all of those things. And there are doctors who will back this up, and you read it in different places. And now all of a sudden, after all these years, there's some other doctor who comes out and says, hey, those blueberries you've been taking, you need to cut back on why are we, there can be these completely different diagnoses from doctors, and they're so polar opposite. How do we know which one is telling us the truth?
Yeah, well, I mean, blueberries are rich in antioxidants for sure. They have a lot of vitamins and minerals. Actually, they are packed with antioxidants, okay, particularly anthocyanins, all right, which give them this deep blue color. So these are helpful. Blueberries help with blood sugar control, help with digestive health. But then there is a bad thing that the pesticide concern is very important. So if you eat blueberries, I'd highly recommend that you take them organic, because non-organic blueberries are often treated with pesticides. So there is health risks long-term exposure to pesticides can be linked to several health issues. So that's a challenge. Also, the cost, they are not cheap to get enough of them. So moderation is key. Getting them organic is key. And again, like anything that we do, a lot of thinking that this is the only key to health and wellness. I don't believe in it. And some people react to certain vitamins just because they have sensitivities to certain foods. So if someone is having several gut issues and they are not resolved and they eat certain foods and they feel sick or tired or brain fog, I highly recommend that they do food sensitivity tests. Some of them are paid by the insurance, some of them are not. But these food sensitivity tests are going to give a map out of the foods that we can eat and keep us healthy.
You know, Dr. Omar, you talked about before we went on break, you talked about a kit that people should put together to address, you know, the changing of the weather. And so, you know, you notice your loved one, a child, a young person that's in your home, or even your loved one, and you notice there's a sniffle starting to noticing that. Is that the sign? Is that the time that you need to start realizing that sniffle, which is something that's different, the runny nose, that it's time to try to, something is happening?
Yeah, actually, with the first sign of a cold, I start to take vitamin C and vitamin D and zinc and all of that. I have a supplement called VeraWin, that have 11 different micronutrients in clinical doses and also have mushrooms in them. And I take one capsule every hour. I take higher dose in the first few hours of my sickness. With the next day, I would feel much better. And the reason is because the body, in the beginning of the sickness, the immune system is revved up. It's facing challenges, and the immune system needs a lot of help and uses the vitamin C and the zinc and the vitamin D, uses a lot of these in higher doses. So supporting the body at that time with fluids, with these kind of urgent nutrients would help you to recover fast. So yeah, I would do it with the first sign. I would keep a humidifier in the house to make it working through the night, because restful sleep is important. I would keep NyQuil or DayQuil or whatever quill that works. Just things that I would need right away. I don't have to run to the pharmacy to get. I have a friend of mine, a lawyer, that I kind of during the last days of December, he texted me and he told me, Omar, I just can't stay home and I'm very sick. I need some help. And he just got sick at that time. And I sent him some of these supplements I am mentioning to you. After 24 hours, he's calling me and he's telling me, I can't believe myself. I feel like back in town. And he tell me I am in my office working. I'm not meeting patients because I'm worried if I'm sick to give them anything, but I am working. I am fine. I am healthy. So the thing is, like, this is science-backed supplements that are recommended, and they are recommended from the first sign of the
So Dr. Omar,
sickness.
so we hear people say the cold just has to run its course. There's nothing you can do once you've, you know, this cold has hit you. I don't care what you take, it's got to run its course. Is that true, or is there just something that you can minimize? It's got to run its course, but you can minimize the misery that you're going to feel.
The question is going to be, I like this question. I think if we say, like, is the course going to run for a couple of days or a whole week or 10 days? So these are questions we can ask. And I think, I think we can make it much better. If you're taking a supplement like Wellmune every day, and then you're gonna get sick less. And if you get sick, you're going to sick less days, and you're going to thrive better than many other patients. Even the CDC was talking about the patients with higher level of vitamin D, as in David, they thrived, and they had better health than other patients that were not taking higher doses of vitamin D. Their levels were not high enough. So we want the course to be shorter, you know.
Dr. Omar, as always, great having the dialogue and the conversation. Tell the family I said hello, and I'll see you again in a few days. All right. You have been officially in the pharmacy with Dr. Omar, the pharmacist. Calvin, how can people get the information?
Yeah, you can listen back to the podcast at civicmedia.us/shows or on Spotify or wherever else you get your podcasts.
All right. 844-967-2789 is the number. You're tuned into the Earl Ingram Show.
All right. Thank you. Take care.
No more backward thinking, time for thinking ahead. The world has changed so very much from what it used to be. There's so much hatred, war, and poverty. Oh, wake up all the teachers, time to teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen to what you have to say. They're the ones who's coming up, and the world is in their hands. When you teach the children, teach them the very best you can. The world won't get no better if we just let it be. Na, 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 na. The world won't get no better. We gotta change it, girl. Just you and me.
All right. Welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 844-967-2789. You can text us at that same number. You know, I wanted to talk a little bit about labor and about labor unions and how I can't understand anybody in labor unions who support the policies of Republicans, of Donald Trump, or Republican policies, period. I spent 34 years in a labor union. And, you know, I walked in there at 18 years old. I walked out at the age of 52. And the impact of working in a unionized shop, I had no understanding or inkling of the value of it until the latter years of my life when I started receiving my pension. And I receive my pension every month. It's not in danger, it's not in jeopardy. It'll be there after I'm long gone. My wife will benefit from my pension. And so, you know, the beauty of that, and it affords my family to be able to continue to live a middle class lifestyle long after I stopped working. So I'm 70 now. I came out of there at 52. Do the math. It's been a long time. And my pension is still there every month, and it makes a difference in my life. So anybody who works and has a union pension, I don't understand how you can support people who want to do away with the National Labor Relations Board. So Republicans and Donald Trump are talking about doing away with the National Labor Relations Board. The National Labor Relations Board is a federal agency that protects the rights of private sector employees to organize and join unions and to improve their working conditions and wages. That's what the NLRB is. And it prevents and remedies unfair labor practices by private sector employers. Now, if you're a union person, that's the whole purpose of the National Labor Relations Board, is to protect you and your union brothers and to make sure that corporations can't take advantage of you. So I don't understand how anybody who's in a union thinks that that's a good thing that Republicans are talking about taking away the National Labor Relations Board. Our phone lines are open at 844-967-2789. Those of you who aren't in unions and don't know the value and the importance of what I'm talking about right now, I can understand it because you haven't been in a union, you don't know the value of those things. But for all those people who do, how do you then cut off your own arm because you somehow think that the Republicans and you love what they stand for? But my God, to talk about doing away with the National Labor Relations Board does not benefit the average Joe. There's no way possible that it does. Maybe you don't understand that, but I do. And this is one of those other things that is taking place in this election that people need to be made aware of. Now let's go to the phone lines, and Tom from Richland Center. Hey, good morning to you, Tom. How you doing, sir?
Great. Good morning, Earl. One thing I want to mention about benefits is that when you're in a union plan, the benefits are above and beyond wages, where if you're getting wages and buying those benefits, you're paying tax first. So that we actually get a huge benefit from the way the old pensions and health plans are set up. But the other one I wanted to mention is the history of unions in the United States. They started as craft unions, and they actually compete with each other, as opposed to something like the IWW, where it was a union, industrial union for everybody to be in the same union. And the problem is, I'm a carpenter, so the carpenters try to take the iron workers' work, the laborers try to take the carpenters' work. Instead of going after the non-union folks and show them the benefits, they end up fighting amongst themselves. And there is a history of unions falling down on the benefits for the workers in terms of them creating institutional efforts to protect themselves instead of really going for workers' rights and all the good things. So when they work, they're fabulous. They need to be democratic, and a lot of the bad vibes about union are from when they've acted undemocratically.
So Tom, let me ask you, because you're in the trades unions, it does appear that many people in the trades unions vote, the other way. More so than most unions. You'll find a lot of guys in trades unions. I know a lot of them who vote, Republican. I've never understood that, because it is the value of the union that gives you the value of the job that you have, from the perspective of making sure that your wages and your benefits remain where they are. It is the union that makes that possible. And I've never been able to understand how people in trades who have benefited from the unions don't see the value of the union.
Well, let me explain one more time. It's the problem with being trade unions that are independent from each other and are fighting with each other. And they create a class consciousness of, say, the iron workers get more money, so they think they're above the carpenters or the laborers, and everyone needs someone lower on the pecking order to, be better than, instead of us all realizing we're in it together.
Right.
And if you look at the iron workers and the operating engineers and even the carpenters, they started making deals with Trump, or who was before that, Bush. They're making all these. They get the work when even there's a depression. Work gets done on construction projects with building roads or bridges.
Right.
And they end up benefiting the right wing as much as the left wing when they go to vote. So I'd say at least a third, maybe half the carpenters are Trump people. And
yeah.
It's disappointing. But it goes back to, we're not a team. We're a bunch of individuals scrapping at each other instead of being a real team.
Hey, Tom, very well said. Thank you very much for listening, man. Thank you very much for the call. Let's go to Earl from Milwaukee. Good morning to you, Earl. How you doing? You say what?
I'm doing fine, Earl. How you doing?
I'm doing fine, man.
Yeah, this is Earl Boyce, remember?
Hey, yeah. Yeah, man. How you doing?
I'm listening, and I'm enjoying what you're saying, because, hey, I was one of them union workers, 19806.
You know, man, I walked into 19806 at the age of 18, and I walked out at 52. How old were you when you went into 19806?
When I left Vietnam, I was 20. I walked out in 2001. 31 and a half years.
So let's talk about it. Are you still receiving that pension?
Hey, I'm receiving it in the set for my wife. Everything's good.
Yeah. So I just again, man, if we could get back to a time in this country like that, when those pensions and people who understood, and I'm not saying even back then everybody who was in the union understood the value of that. By the way, I'm going to be doing my show live September 2nd from Labor Fest, as I do every year. And man, being around all of those, remember when we used to, our union would bring our families to Labor Fest, and we would be amongst all the other unionized people in the city of Milwaukee when the middle class was strong and families were strong. You remember all that?
I remember winning a big screen TV.
Yeah. well, I didn't ever win anything, but just that. And all of that is gone. And so the stresses that was on people's lives, the middle class was secure. And this is the message that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and the Democrats have been preaching constantly, is about that middle class and what happened to it. And so when I hear the Republican Party, again, they want to do away with the National Labor Relations Board. And if people really understood the impact of what that means, they would definitely say these aren't people who are looking out for the best interest of the average person. Hey, Earl, it's good to hear from you, man. Hey, leave your number with Calvin, man. I'll give you a call afterwards. Leave your number. 844-967-2789 is the number. You're tuned into the Earl Ingram Show.
Come on. Wake up, everybody. Did you know, babe? Maybe then this what you have to say. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in there. No more about to thinking, time for thinking ahead. Come on.
She walks right in my dreams since I met her from the start. I'm so proud I am the only one who is special in her heart. The girl is mine. The doggone girl is mine. I know she's mine. The doggone girl is mine.
I don't understand the way you think, saying that she's yours, not mine.
sending roses and your silly dreams, really just a waste of time because she's
All right, welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 844-967-2789. Text us at that same number. Let's go back to the phone lines. Mary from Wauwatosa. Good morning, Mary. You say what?
Good morning, Earl. Like you, I'm really fortunate for the financial security I have in my retirement due to my 27 years as a Wisconsin state employee. I don't know about city, county, and federal civil service. I assume that they offer pensions.
Yeah, they still
but
do.
They
still do.
Yeah, I highly recommend to people to look at civil service work for the pension and health benefits. It was a stroke of luck for me, believe me. Thanks for that.
Yeah. It really is, and and I think just not enough of that, and we need to continue to fight to rebuild unions, and if we can do that, you'll start guaranteeing the middle class having stability. Hey, Mike from Kenosha. Good morning to you, sir. How are you? Thank you very much for the call.
Good morning. Thanks for taking it as always. Can you imagine what our communities would look like if we didn't have pensions and Social Security and benefits? There would be ghost towns. There would be complete regions that would be impoverished. The efforts that big business take on to thwart down any labor organizing is tremendous. It's a big part of their business plan, and they execute it daily. They're aware of this daily. That's one of the biggest fears of big business is organized labor.
Right.
And think about this. There's really only a very small, limited amount of tools that we the peeps have. A union is us organizing. It's people organizing. To try to get the fair deal and be protected and everything else. Now, on the other side of the line, there's just literally thousands of different business groups, Chamber of Commerce and everything else. And they're organized to do exactly the opposite. and their strength and their numbers is tremendous. So really, in my opinion, the union movement needs an injection of passion, needs to be revisited with the American people to recognize and again tout of its benefits of continuous learning and career counseling, much less in a good paying job where you can raise a family and not struggle. To me, I can't imagine living in a community that does not have labor represented and does not have pensions in the community. It would be catastrophic.
Well, Mike, this is what they're pushing for. To do away with the National Labor Relations Board. Here's the other part of it. The hypocrisy in what they do and what they stand for is they support fully police and fire unions. And I'm like, you can't pick and choose what unions you think are worthy. If you condemn all other unions, then you should be condemning police and fire unions. It's what Scott Walker did. Scott Walker, when he and the Republicans attacked the teachers unions and other unions with Act 10, when I remember I used to call him on the conservative talk shows and push back and say, why haven't you said anything about police and fire? And he said, well, we just didn't think that, that was a good thing. Well, how can it be good for one and not good for the other? And so police and fire have been able to continue to benefit and live great lives. They have not, and yes, they certainly take a risk, but they choose to take those jobs. And I'm saying that you can't then say the other unions aren't worthy or deserving of protection. Mike, that's kind of where this thing is.
and they had the hands off of the police and fire unions because that's still a cash cow for them. That's
Right.
in my opinion, it's military industrial complex with a different kind of paint on the equipment. So they protect that group, and they also know that many of us have a deep reverence and a profound amount of respect for police and fire.
So Mike.
And
go ahead.
Yes.
So
my point is they would lose that demographic very quickly. They wouldn't have no support or very limited support from fire and police if they went after their union.
Mike, if we could, go back to a time, and not be nostalgic, but as you stated, can I imagine living in a community where there are no pensions and Social Security and those kind of things? I live in the city of Milwaukee, where there's so many people now who don't have pensions, who've worked their entire lives, Mike, and who have reached retirement age with no retirement and no pension. And so I live around people who live like that. And it's heartbreaking. And so we can do something about that, Mike. And we don't need to do anything to add to the misery of people who are already in that kind of condition by now doing away with the National Labor Relations Board. I can't fathom how people can think that that's okay for the average person and that the Republicans and Donald Trump are looking out for them with that kind of a move.
And really, there's no successful nation on earth that has this libertarian stand on your own, perspective. No, all modern societies have systems in place to catch their people from disaster at the end of their, as they age. That's what I would call, to not have a system in place. That's radical.
Hey, Mike, thank you very much for the call as always, man. Always good stuff. 844-967-2789 is the number. You're tuned into the Earl Ingram Show.
Michael, we're not going to fight about this, okay?
Paul, I think I told you. I'm a lover, not a fighter.
I've heard it all before, Michael. She told me that I'm her forever lover, don't you remember?
Well, after loving me, she said she couldn't love another.
Is that what she said?
Yes, she said it. You keep dreaming. I don't believe it. I know the girl is mine. I know mine. You're mine. She's mine, 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 mine. The girl is mine.
When this whole world starts getting me down and people are just too much for me to face, I climb way up to the top of the stairs and all my cares just drift right into space. On the roof it's peaceful as can be, and there the world below can bother me. Let me tell you now, when I come home feeling tired and weak, I go up where the air is fresh and sweet. On the roof, I get away from the hustling crowd and all that rat race noise down in the street.
All right, man, the Drifters. Welcome back to the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 844-967-2789. Text us at that same number. Man, music soothes the savage beast. It's Thursday. That means the Earl Ingram Show is in full effect. I was talking about the fact that Republicans want to do away with labor unions. Let's go to Jeff from Green Bay. Good morning to you, Jeff. You say what?
Morning, Earl. Is this the radical left Earl?
Yes, this is the radical left Earl, man.
Common sense. It's so radical, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
I'm one of the victims that never got a union. I wanted it, but they turned me down. They had too many other people.
Well, I'm sorry to hear
living
that.
proof. I'm 60, and I got, other than money I made on real estate, I got no pension, no nothing. Social Security, that's it. Here's my suggestion, though. Every federal dollar that's ever given to a corporation, they should automatically be federalized and federal employee union. That's the condition of taking the money.
What do
you think about that?
Well, I think it's a great idea, man. So I mean, I know of people who work their entire lives. They can't retire, Jeff. You were fortunate enough to be able to make your money in real estate, but there's so many people who weren't able to do that. And in the latter years of their lives, they don't have pensions and they never made a lot of money. And their Social Security is minimal at best. And they're struggling. And yet it just galls me that Republicans want to take away these safeguards for the average person and greedy corporations. And yes, I'm saying that greedy corporations who can't get enough don't want to share. They were forced to share during my time, because of labor. And labor forced them into sharing. And it's helped create a middle-class lifestyle for many of us. But not enough people today are able to share in that, Jeff. Thank you very much for the call. Let's go to Curtis from West Dallas. Good morning to you, Curtis. How you doing, sir? Thank you for the call.
Good morning, Earl. Love your show today. Hey,
well, thank you.
Worked for a non-union for 32 years. And let me tell you, what Elon Musk said the other day when he was talking to Trump on, and he said these words, Trump, love how you said, if you don't like your job and you're in the United States, I treat you.
Hey, Curtis, you broke up, and I know what he said, and I think it's critically important to the conversation. Repeat what you said.
Trump asked Elon Musk the other day, and he was saying how arrogant he was because he said, I told my employees, basically, if you don't like your job, there's the door, go home. I worked for a company for 32 years, and every time it was a snowstorm, I drove. My boss said, if you don't want to drive in the snow, go home and I'll fire you. So I know. And we work for a non-union shop, but my husband works for a union shop. And the bottom line, union says, all for one, one for all. So if you don't unite and stand together, you will fall, just like the country. But you have to stay united. But Earl, I love your show today, and keep it up.
Hey, Curtis, thank you very much for the call, man. Your point is absolutely valid. And yes, Donald Trump gave accolades to Elon Musk when Elon Musk talked about what he does to people who wanted to unionize, in his shops, that they could hit the road. Let's go to Gary from Sussex. Good morning to you, Gary. You say what?
Hi, Earl. I'm 72, and I worked for a company for 35 years before I started my own business. And they were non-union. The boss or the owner of the company said that he would fire us if we tried to unionize. And so we didn't. But when I first started there 35 years ago, I was just a kid, he told me that if I work here and continue working here until I retire, you'll have $1 million in the bank that they're going to put in there for my IRA. When I retired at 61 from that company, I had $1 million put into my IRA, non-union, and it worked. I worked hard for my money. I worked overtime. I ended up as a manager of the company. And then with the experience I had working at this company for 35 years, I started my own business 13 years ago. And I'm still working, and I don't plan. And I'm non-union, and I would never open up as a union shop. My employees are very happy. They get paid well for what they do.
Hey, Gary, I guarantee you that the majority of the laborers, the majority of the iron workers, the carpenters, the steam fitters, the electricians who are in unions are happy that they're in unions. And they understand that they're making that wage that they're making because of unions. And so, Gary, because you are fortunate and you are one of the select few that had a person who followed through, for everyone that had that, there's hundreds of them who didn't follow through. Unions offered protection, and protection from corporations that have historically taken advantage of the average person, Gary. That's factual.
Yeah, but these people that work for Elon Musk, they didn't quit. You know why? Because they're paid well. And just because you're not, when you're in a union, you have to pay for your own.
You have to pay for your own. You have to pay for your. Wait. You have to pay for your own what?
Your vacation time.
No. I was in the union for 34 years. I never paid for my vacation time, Gary. And I got in the end, when I retired, 6 weeks of vacation, 5 personal days, a week, almost 4 days off for Christmas, 3 days off for Thanksgiving. I don't know, what you're talking about, Gary.
Well, I have friends that work for an electric company, a local electric company, and he told me that they take so many dollars out of his wages and put towards your vacation. So when you take your vacation, that money is there. If you don't,
that's not a unionized shop, Gary. I don't know what your friend told you, but that's not how negotiations and what the Labor Relations Board and all of those entities that are there to make sure that that kind of thing doesn't happen. That doesn't sound like any union that I've ever known. Have you ever known the police and fire that they took money out of their checks to pay for their vacations, Gary? Have you ever heard that?
Earl? No, Earl. I'm just going by what I was told.
I know. I'm telling you, whoever told you that wasn't being truthful.
Okay. Well, unions have disappeared in this country, and it's been working for most people. I'm not saying unions are bad. I'm just saying people are starting to realize that unions are not the best thing for everybody. It's not for everybody, Earl. For you and for my dad worked at Al's Charmers. He was in the union all his life. It worked for him,
Well, unions work for the majority of the people because they offer They offer, for the most part, livable wages and security. Okay, how can that not be good for people? We see what's happened since they've taken away unions, Gary. Thank you very much for the call. Hey, Bruce, how you doing, sir? Thank you very much for the call. You say what?
Thanks, Earl. One thing about Elon Musk that not too many people know, he just recently was given by his board of directors $56 billion as his annual salary for this coming year. That's after 2 years where their stock prices have dropped because their sales are down. And he laid off 14,000 employees. If they had fired Elon Musk and paid those 14,000 employees equally from that $56 billion, that would be $4 million for each one of those 14,000 employees that was laid off. That's the obscenity of the inequality in this country today.
You know, Bruce, when you have somebody like Gary who argues against the unions and they don't work for everybody. Well, you know, the society was much better off. There were a lot more people who were living well, who weren't struggling during my lifetime when unions made up 35% of the private sector. You know, now that private sector is only 7% unionized, and we see the outcome of that. There is a coincidence. You know, it's just factual. And so now, even in the face of the small group of unions that are left, we've got the Republicans looking to do what they can to dismember those unions unless they're policing fire. And people need to take that into consideration when they're voting. What do these people stand for? What is the Republican Party standing for? They claim they're standing for the average person. If you're looking to destroy unions, you're not standing for the average person. Hey, Bruce, thank you very much for the call and that information. Let's go to John from West Dallas. Good morning to you, John. You say what?
Hey, Earl. Just two quick things. I remember a friend said to me a couple years ago that what workers are capitalists too. So we have the right to bargain.
Yes.
And set. You know, we're capitalists too. So why can't we participate? You know, in the same game that industry does. You know. And also, I have a.
Go ahead.
I have a small business and one or two employees, like part-time, and I make it real simple. I just give them, I give 25% of what I make, I give to the workers. There's no hourly wage.
Right.
So if I make some good money, they make good money. And if I make less, they make less. And believe me, they're happy to get that. You know, I know they think it's very generous, and I think it is, you know. But to me, it's not generous. To me, it's just fair, you know.
Well, John, you've got a small business, and God bless you. You're the kind of guy who is concerned about your employees. Do you think everybody who has a business is concerned about their employees as much as you are?
If they're paying an hourly wage, that's not really concern. That's like it's kind of greedy in a way, you know, because they could be making a ton of money and still paying, you know, insect wages, you know.
Hey, John, thank you very much for the call. Phone lines open as always at 844-967-2789. And I want to go out with the Drifters Up on the Roof.
I found a paradise that's trouble-proof. On the roof. And if this world starts getting you down, there's room enough for two up on the roof. Up on the roof. Up on the roof.
All right, welcome back to what is the last few minutes of the Earl Ingram Show. As always, you can join us at 844-967-2789. Text us at that same number. You know, people are asking, what are Kamala Harris's policies? She's doing a lot of talking. She's not talking about any policies. Well, guess what? One of them is she's going to take on the greedy grocery industry that has been charging prices, outlandish prices, at the same time stagnation has been taking place in the grocery industry. She's going to challenge what, unfortunately, these corporations have been allowed to get away with. And that's the fact that they've been able to continue to raise prices on the groceries while the groceries have gotten smaller. They haven't been able to do it without the blessings of elected officials who made it possible for corporations to do this to us. I constantly want to remind people that corporations can't do anything unilaterally unless our elected officials give them the okay to do that. So Kamala Harris is getting ready to take that on. Now she can't herself unilaterally wave a magic wand. It means that elected officials, congressmen and senators would have to say and create laws that will prevent these greedy corporations from doing what they're doing in the grocery market. Shrinkflation. Let's go to CJ. Good morning to you, CJ. You say what?
Well, good morning, Earl. Thanks for taking my call. Well, she's been vice president for 3.5 years, and funny thing is, her and her boss.
Vice president can't unilaterally make a decision to stop greedy corporations from doing what they're doing, CJ.
She's the reason, and Biden's the reason that it went 19.5% inflation over their 3 years. So they're the ones that have caused the problem. What has she been doing for the last 3.5 years?
Hey CJ. Hey CJ. Here's what she's getting ready to do now. You asked about policies. You asked about policies. This is one that is going to make a major difference. She can't wave a magic wand. It takes common sense decisions by our representative government elected officials to hold greedy corporations accountable.
Oh my God, more regulations. Yeah, I'm sure that won't cause
more. We absolutely. The reason they've been able to do it, CJ, is because the regulations weren't there. What part of that don't you understand?
Man, you guys are just really fishing because she hasn't done squat in 3 years, and all of a sudden.
Hey, CJ, suck it up. She's going to do plenty because right now, it doesn't matter how you and others like you want to denigrate her. They're riding the crest because people are sick and tired of the foolishness that they hear coming out of the mouths of people like you, who constantly want to dismiss what is happening in this country, man.
They're the ones that caused it, Earl. They're the ones with the big spending, the rescue plan, $1.5 trillion. In 3 months, it went from 1.4% under Trump to 4.5% inflation.
Hey, CJ, how soon you and others forget that at the time that COVID struck, it was Donald Trump who began to give out money. Maybe you conveniently forgot that first check. The nation was facing peril. The nation was facing insolvency. And yes, there had to be money injected into the economy. How soon you and others forget about how Donald Trump gave money to the wealthiest amongst us when he didn't have to do it. And he's talking about doing the exact same thing if he gets reelected. Your thoughts on that?
Repeat myself because Larry Summers, remember him? He was Obama's Secretary of Treasury. He said, don't do this. You're going to cause massive inflation. You want to distract? Go ahead, because this country is reaping what we've sown.
Hey, CJ, let me tell you what the country thinks about, what you and others like you seem to think is, what the future of our nation is going to be. Hooey, because I can't say anything else. They're not going to be supporting that ridiculousness. And thank God that there are people whose eyes are open and who don't want to take us back down that path. $8 trillion that Donald Trump added to the debt in 4 years. That's what he did, unnecessarily. And it doesn't matter how many times you want to try to, get people to believe that you have some facts. All right, we got to go. Thank everybody who made the show go. As always, could not do it without you. Thank you, Calvin. Really enjoy having this opportunity. Up next, Matt Nair on there, Jane Matt Nair and Greg Bott. Enjoy the weather. See you guys on tomorrow.